Sylvia Owens was a force of nature in the kitchen. Her restaurant, The Culinary Crucible, was known for its innovative dishes and Sylvia's boundless energy. She moved through the kitchen with the speed and precision of a surgeon, her eyes constantly scanning, her hands always working. Sylvia was ambitious, driven to be the best, and she poured her heart and soul into her restaurant. Her staff both admired and feared her. They admired her talent and dedication, but they also knew that her high standards came with a price. Sylvia was a perfectionist, and nothing short of absolute flawlessness would do. This was never truer than in the days leading up to the biannual health inspection. The inspection was Sylvia's Everest, her white whale, the ultimate test of her culinary prowess, and she would conquer it no matter the cost. Sylvia's obsession with food safety was legendary. She ran her kitchen with a strictness that would make a drill sergeant proud. Every surface was spotless, gleaming under the harsh glare of the industrial lighting. She had color-coded cutting boards for every ingredient imaginable, and woe betide the sous chef who dared to confuse the onion board with the garlic board. Hand-washing was practically a religious experience in Sylvia's kitchen. The staff joked that they spent more time scrubbing their hands than actually cooking. Sylvia had installed a high-tech hand-washing station that looked like it belonged in a surgical theater, complete with motion sensors and a timer that beeped incessantly until a full 2 minutes of scrubbing was complete. But Sylvia's cleaning rituals went far beyond the ordinary. She had been known to sterilize her spices, convinced that even the most innocuous peppercorn could harbor unseen dangers. Her staff had long since given up questioning her methods, accepting that their fearless leader was operating on a different plane of existence when it came to cleanliness. Sylvia's obsession with food safety wasn't limited to hygiene, it extended to her culinary creations as well. She had a knack for taking classic dishes and reinventing them with a safety-first approach that was both innovative and, some might say, slightly unhinged. Her signature dish, the safe sushi, was a perfect example. Gone was the raw fish, replaced with carefully steamed vegetables, meticulously arranged on a bed of meticulously cooked quinoa. The entire creation was then encased in a thin layer of edible, flavorless gelatin, ensuring that no bacteria could penetrate its sterile fortress. Then there was her pasteurized pâté, a terrine made with slow-cooked meats that had been subjected to enough heat to satisfy even the most paranoid germaphobe. And let's not forget her irradiated ice cream, a frozen dessert that had been blasted with enough gamma rays to kill any lingering microbes, resulting in a treat that was undeniably safe, if a little lacking in the flavor department. The week leading up to the inspection was a blur of activity. Sylvia became a culinary drill sergeant, barking orders and inspecting every inch of her domain with the intensity of a general preparing for battle. The staff, hardened by years of working under Sylvia's exacting regime, knew better than to question her methods. They executed her commands with a mixture of fear and begrudging admiration. No detail was too small for Sylvia's attention. She had the entire restaurant, from the dining room to the walk-in refrigerator, scrubbed from floor to ceiling. She implemented a strict no outside food or drink policy, fearing that a stray crumb from a staff member's lunch could spell disaster. But Sylvia's real masterpiece was the series of food safety tests she devised for the unsuspecting inspectors. These tests were legendary in their absurdity, designed to weed out any inspector who dared to take their job lightly. The irony of Sylvia's situation was not lost on her staff. They worked in the cleanest kitchen in the city, perhaps even the world, yet the food they produced was often more about safety than flavor. Sylvia's creations were technically perfect, but they lacked a certain je ne sais quoi, that intangible spark that elevated a meal from good to truly memorable. There was a sterile quality to the restaurant, a sense of being in a museum where you could look but not truly experience. The air itself seemed to be purified, scrubbed clean of any aroma that might hint at the culinary delights being prepared within. The staff often wondered if Sylvia herself could taste the difference, if her pursuit of absolute safety had dulled her palate to the nuances of flavor. Or perhaps she was simply willing to sacrifice taste for the peace of mind that came from knowing that every bite was free from any potential contaminants. The day of the inspection dawned bright and clear. Sylvia had barely slept, her mind racing with all the potential scenarios that could unfold. She had prepared a grand feast for the inspectors, a culinary tour de force designed to showcase her commitment to both safety and innovation. The menu read like something out of a science fiction novel: sous vide salmon poached in purified water, deconstructed Caesar salad with individually sanitized croutons, and for dessert, a microfiltered fruit tart with gluten-free, lactose-free and allergen-free crust. Each dish was a testament to Sylvia's meticulous nature, a symphony of flavor and safety. The dining room was immaculate, the air thick with anticipation. Sylvia paced the kitchen, her nerves on edge. This was it, the culmination of months of planning and preparation. The moment of truth had arrived. The arrival of the inspectors was announced by a sharp knock on the front door. Sylvia took a deep breath, straightened her chef's coat, and plastered a confident smile on her face. She had this. She had prepared for this moment. The inspectors, a team of 3, entered the restaurant. They were a study in contrasts: a tall, imposing woman with a no-nonsense demeanor, a short, jovial man who seemed to be perpetually on the verge of laughter, and a young woman who looked like she would rather be anywhere else but here. Sylvia greeted them warmly, her voice trembling slightly despite her best efforts to remain calm. She led them on a tour of the kitchen, pointing out her meticulously labeled containers, her color-coded cutting boards, and her state-of-the-art hand-washing station. The inspectors listened patiently, their faces betraying nothing. They asked a few perfunctory questions, but their eyes seemed to be everywhere, taking in every detail, searching for any sign of imperfection. The tension in the air was palpable as the inspectors took their seats at the meticulously set table. Sylvia watched with bated breath as they sampled each dish, her heart sinking with every bite. The inspectors, while polite, did not seem particularly impressed. Their faces remained impassive, their expressions unreadable. The tall, imposing inspector, whose name tag identified her as Miss Rodriguez, finally broke the silence. "Chef Owens," she began, her voice firm but not unkind. "Your kitchen is undeniably the cleanest I have ever seen. Your attention to detail is commendable." Sylvia dared to breathe a sigh of relief. Maybe she had been worrying for nothing. Maybe her efforts had paid off. But Miss Rodriguez wasn't finished. "However," she continued, her voice taking on a sharper edge, "I'm not sure I understand your approach to cooking. Your food is safe, yes, but it lacks soul. It's sterile, devoid of the passion that should be at the heart of every meal." Sylvia's heart sank. She had been so focused on achieving perfection, on eliminating every possible risk, that she had forgotten the most important ingredient of all joy. The rest of the inspection was a blur. Sylvia vaguely remembered Miss Rodriguez lecturing her about the importance of balance, about the need to find a middle ground between safety and flavor. She remembered the young inspector, her face softening with sympathy, suggesting that Sylvia relax, that she allow herself to enjoy the act of cooking again. As the inspectors made their exit, leaving Sylvia with a stack of paperwork and a head full of doubts, she realized the true cost of her pursuit of perfection. She had built a restaurant that was a testament to her meticulous nature, but in the process, she had created something cold and sterile. The silence of the empty restaurant was deafening. Sylvia looked around at the gleaming surfaces, the spotless floors, the empty chairs, and a wave of sadness washed over her. She had created a perfect prison, a sterile cage of her own making. That night, as Sylvia sat alone in her apartment, the weight of Miss Rodriguez's words settled over her. She had always prided herself on her rationality, her ability to control every aspect of her kitchen. But what good was control if it meant sacrificing the very essence of what made food so special? She thought back to her childhood, to the hours she spent in the kitchen with her grandmother, her tiny hands covered in flour, her face smeared with chocolate. Back then, cooking had been an adventure, a joyous exploration of flavors and textures. There had been laughter and mess and the occasional burnt dish, but there had also been love poured into every bite. Somewhere along the way, Sylvia realized she had lost sight of that joy. She had become so consumed by the fear of failure, by the pursuit of an impossible standard, that she had forgotten the simple pleasure of creating something delicious. The next morning, Sylvia arrived at the restaurant with a renewed sense of purpose. She gathered her staff and, with a trembling voice, apologized for the pressure she had put them under. She told them about her conversation with Miss Rodriguez, about her realization that she had lost her way. And then something magical happened. The staff, initially stunned into silence, erupted in cheers. They had always admired Sylvia's drive, but they had also longed for the freedom to express their own creativity. Together, they spent the day transforming the restaurant. They threw open the windows, letting in the fresh air and the sounds of the city. They rearranged the furniture, creating a warmer, more inviting atmosphere. And then they cooked. They cooked with abandon, with passion, with a newfound appreciation for the simple joy of creating something delicious. They experimented with new flavors, they pushed boundaries, and they rediscovered the magic that happened when they allowed themselves to be fully present in the moment. The food that emerged from the kitchen that day was nothing short of transformative. It was flavorful, yes, but it was also infused with a newfound sense of joy, a celebration of the act of cooking itself. And for the first time in a long time, Sylvia Owens tasted true satisfaction.